Hi, I'm your host, Erika Polsinelli, and welcome to Evolve by Erika, the podcast, where we talk all things spirituality, ascension, health, wellness, and beyond. I'm so excited that you are here. Come on in. Hello, guys. I am so excited for this guest today. You may know her as Organic Olivia. I'm just thrilled to have Olivia here today. I follow her. She's one of my favorite Leos on the internet, and she's a projector. You guys know that projector energy is strong. I just adore her. I've been following her for a while. I know so many of the community members love her too. It is amazing to me how much she's accomplished in her life at the young age of 30 years old. In this episode, we are going to tackle so much. I plan to ask her a lot about how her business got started, how it grew to be what it is today, her shift that she's having that we're all kind of watching and observing internally of really coming into this spiritual space, and the changes, the more recent changes in her life. So I'm so excited to have her here. I feel so honored and grateful that she wanted to come on and be a guest. I was also a guest on her podcast. So after you listen to this episode, you can go and listen to the one that I was on her podcast. We did maybe like 2.5 hours together. We could have spent like 5 hours together. But take a listen. If you love it, please go and listen to her episode as well, where she interviews me a lot about my journey and how I got to where I am today with this practice. It was so much fun connecting with her, but enjoy, and I'll see you on the other side. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Hi, Erika.
Hi. I'm so excited. I have been following you forever, and a lot of my community members have told me about you. And I love that. Like when you know you're all like vibing, and then you know other people that you would vibe with. And so many have come to me and been like, Organic Olivia, and loving your products and just you and what you share. And I'm so grateful that we connected, and I'm so grateful to have you here.
I'm so grateful to be here, and shout out to your community for just knowing that we would vibe. That's the best part, is like when your communities know, when they're good folks and they just know another good person you need to connect with, they're really the plug.
They are. So for those who may be just meeting you for the first time today, can you share a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Olivia. I am a clinical herbalist. I went to a 3-year herbal program in New York City, and I studied herbalism. And I started a company called Organic Olivia. And when I first started the company, it was just a very fringe health and wellness blog. It was like 2013-ish. And it was when I first started experimenting with organic food and looking for herbal or natural solutions to a lot of the health issues that I have. And I felt like, sort of like what you said, that you discovered this gold mine that people needed to know about. Mm-hmm. And I just started kind of discovering like a lot of the stuff in our food supply is kind of terrible. And there's all of these natural herbal tools that we can use to support our body from the earth. And there's all of these root cause focused solutions versus Band-Aids that we can do for our health, and all of these lifestyle tools and ancient modalities. Like, why is no one talking about this? Because again, it was 2013. And so I started a very fringe blog because at the time, like, wellness was not a thing. It was not an industry. It was not commonplace as you see it today. There was not like stores full of supplement shelves. And I just started kind of like almost doing like a little expose on like, I would write articles about genetically modified foods, about even like seed oils and like canola oil and omegas and like the ratio of fats in our food. Like this was 10 years ago. And I started to get a little bit of a following, and what led me down this path was that I had really severe health issues. I had really severe IBS. I had really severe cystic acne on my face and on my back. And I also had a lot of mental health struggles with generalized anxiety disorder and major depressive disorder. So I had tried a lot of different pharmaceuticals for all of the above. And I was just really a non-responder. Like I would try SSRIs and they just wouldn't work. I had really treatment-resistant depression. I would try different meds for my anxiety and for my stomach. I was put on like antispasmodic medications for the IBS pain. I was put on antibiotics for my acne. And that was just what my family did. They just treated everything with pharmaceuticals. It was really normal for us. My parents were on a lot of different medications. So I never thought twice about it. And I had one friend whose family was like organic and crunchy when I was growing up, and I thought they were so weird. And I was like, what is that rice milk, that like non-dairy milk that she's drinking before like
So
almond
funny.
milk existed?
So funny.
And so it was just so foreign for me to even think about treating my stuff naturally. But it got to the point where I was on so many different medications and I was getting so many different side effects from them, and things would work temporarily and then get so much worse that I was just at a wall. Like I just hit a wall with my health. And I did notice certain little things. Like I would see that when I would take an antibiotic for my acne, like a doxycycline, that temporarily my gut issues would get better and like my IBS would be a lot less severe and that I would have less anxiety. And I was like, wait, is there like some kind of bacteria in my gut that's affecting my acne and like my anxiety? And this was before the gut microbiome was a thing, before the gut-brain axis. We had like none of this research back in the day. And so I'm sure a lot of people thought I was crazy talking about this gut microbiome brain anxiety connection, but I knew it was there and I could feel in my body that everything was interconnected, and that's what we know today as holistic health. So long story short, I was put on like a crazy medication for this issue that I was having, and it ended up elevating my liver enzymes, and I had a really bad reaction to it. And I was studying pre-med at the time. I was going to become a doctor because I was so frustrated with my health. And I ran out of my chemistry lab class because I was so frustrated. And I went to an acupuncturist. I like got in my car, drove to this random guy. He looked at my tongue. He told me every single thing I was experiencing just from looking at my tongue. He knew I was having an issue with my liver. He told me that I had like overgrowths and fungi and bacteria in my gut. He gave me all these different like pills and potions to take home and try, and they tasted so gross because at the time I didn't have a palate for herbs. But I took everything religiously every night, and in the next 2 weeks I had more relief for all my different issues than I had in my years of trying to go the conventional route. And I was like, I need to understand this right now. So that just began my deep dive, and I started learning about herbs and Chinese medicine and going to school and blogging about everything that I learned along the way. I was always like trying to kind of pass along the lessons and learn through teaching. And I just kind of kept a really good catalog of it all, and it served me by launching my internet career. And then I started my herbal company, and now I make the formulas that I wish I had when I was struggling.
So amazing. How old were you?
I was like 20 when this happened, like when I first went to that acupuncturist.
Because I was doing the math, and I think you're 30 now.
Yeah, I'm 30.
Like 10 years ago, she's 20. And then I'm thinking back to what I was doing at 20 or what I was doing in 2013. And you're even younger than me. I'm like, damn, like I was going out, I was partying, it's a blur, a lot of what I was doing.
I did that when I was like 14. This is why I'm having a midlife crisis at 30.
Okay.
Like now you get it. Because I'm from Yonkers. Like we started drinking at like 14, 15. Like it was really not okay. So I feel like I partied really young.
Okay.
And also didn't, not even party. I wasn't even ever like a partier or a drinker, but just like kids my age were doing that really young. And so I got a taste of it and was like, I don't like this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not fulfilling to me. And I've just always been like very old in my head.
Wow.
So even at that time, like 14, 15, 16, when all my friends were like drinking, going out and partying, I was kind of like, this feels like such a sad existence. Like I want to know about psychology. I want to read. I want to look at all this stuff. And so I just knew really early on in life that I wanted to do something of purpose.
Yeah.
And I guess having like all the health issues and especially like the mental health issues led me so deep into like that research mind of needing to know why I was suffering. And so I was even more thrust into like a very serious path from a young age. Mm-hmm. And especially like growing up in a home where also my mom struggled with a lot of mental health issues. I really wanted to know like the psychology behind what she was experiencing so that I could understand like what was going on in my home and like have a sense of forgiveness and control and all this. So I just was like a little nerd researcher from a young age. Very old soul.
I love you and her. You're a little, little inner child who's so old.
Yeah, that was like my inner teenager, the researcher who was like deep in. My inner child's like my little artist that I'm reconnecting with now. But definitely my inner teen was like she's like my ride or die. I'm going to figure all this stuff out and save you kind of girl.
Wow.
And so, yeah, by the time I got to college, I already was like, okay, 18, pre-med, I'm going to like figure this out. I'm going to use my issues to help other people. Then the pre-med track wasn't working because I was getting sicker and sicker. And then I was like, all right, nope, we're going to go the alternative route and learn herbal medicine. And yeah, started the blog and business so young. And then I think in my later 20s, I started to actually enjoy life.
Yeah.
Like I was very, very serious young. But now in my later 20s, now that my business was a little bit more established, I started to kind of have fun.
It's unbelievable how much you've accomplished at such a young age.
Thanks.
It's incredible. What told you a blog? Because sometimes I'll think like, I love Jordan Younger. You know her, right?
Yes.
I love her. And she was blogging back then too, then. But I'm always like, what gave you this idea? I mean, maybe you didn't even have the idea that blogging would become so well known. Maybe it was something you just had to do to fulfill something within you. But like, what told you, like, did you ever read a blog before? Tell me about the day you were like, I'm going to start a blog.
I just loved writing. Like I was just a weirdo. Like I loved writing essays in school. I loved homework. Like I loved, nothing made me happier than writing a killer essay and like proving a point in an essay. So I just always had a love for writing and fleshing things out and like starting with a hypothesis and proving my point and having a conclusion. Like it just, the Virgo rising inside of me was
I love it.
Very fulfilled by that. And so because I guess I was so in my school years and I was so used to writing papers, it just seemed like a very natural medium in which I could keep a record of everything that I was learning because I was learning so much so quickly. Since my whole paradigm of health was shifting and I was like, discovering these like plants that you can brew and drink that can make it different. Like it was so foreign to me that for me, my style of retaining information is teaching it. I think that if you can teach something to someone, that means you really know it. That means you really learned it and it can help you learn it. So even studying in college, that was my way of learning psychology. I'd come home from class and I would teach Nick what I learned that day in class. And then I would never forget it because I would teach it to someone else in my own words. Yeah. So I was kind of like, oh, this could work through a blog too. And this was like a WordPress blog or like it was Blogger, like Blogspot. So I think it was because also like people were doing recipe blogs and I was like, oh, that's the way that I'm finding recipes. Maybe I could just like use that format to keep a track of like all my kind of like essays that I was essentially writing about our food supply and healthy fats and herbs and all that. So I didn't really expect it to do anything or take off anywhere. I just felt the need to put it out there. Yeah.
So cool. And did you grow a following? Are there followers on blogs? How does that work?
I guess it was that you could subscribe to like the RSS feed. You know, like you could kind of,
I don't know.
It was like so old school. You could kind of subscribe to a blog. It was a very rudimentary way of getting notifications. But what I did to kind of share the blog was I used Instagram as my like blog promotion platform.
Got it.
So this was when Instagram was, again, very new. It was like 2012, 2013. Instagram was just used for filters, really. People were just kind of like
I remember those
putting filters on it and then putting those pictures on Facebook. So it wasn't like people were using Instagram. It was so new. But I was just like, oh, like I'm going to go into, I don't even know what program I used, if it was PicMonkey or something else, but I would just make like a blog title graphic. And it was so silly. And I would just upload that on my Instagram and kind of just put as much of the blog post as I could in the caption and then just be like, read the rest of the link in my bio. And I would just have my blog linked. So it wasn't like I was like posting pictures of myself on Instagram or cataloging my food or my life. I was, I guess, on the in-between, but I was mostly using it to share my blog articles. And I would get like, 13 likes and one person would find me. So it just was a very slow growth. I was a very early adopter of the platform. And just like consistently put myself out there every day. And it just turned into something.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long after the blog did you start the line and your business?
It had to be like 3 or 4 years later. I had done like small batches and small runs of like specific herbal formulas. Like there was this one gut formula that really helped my digestion. So I like handmade capsules of like 100 bottles and would like kind of just like sell those on Etsy, like just very beginner baby herbalist stuff. But then when I started school in 2017, that was kind of when I officially launched my first line of tinctures. Like that's kind of when the brand got a facelift kind of, and I like developed labels and got everything professionally manufactured and like really released a full line.
And that was all you at that time, you by yourself?
Essentially like in let's say like when I first started using manufacturers, which I guess was like 2016, 2017, we had these guys in Canada that I knew who did like food production. They did like consumer packaged goods. And I was trying to get my herbs made in the US. I was trying to find a good manufacturing facility that could like do the small amount of units that I wanted and like do everything with organic herbs. And I was having a really hard time because a lot of the US manufacturing plants want to send your stuff to China and then send it back. So like but they won't tell you that. They'll just give you a really long lead time and you're like, what the heck? So I needed these guys in Canada to help me like find a good manufacturer. And so they were kind of like the middleman for us, and they would like negotiate with these Canadian facilities that were going to do it like in North America. But they just like took a really big cut. Like they took like a big chunk of the price. They weren't like business partners, but they like helped us get our start with like manufacturer relationships. And then finally I met my current manufacturer, one of my current manufacturers at Expo West in California, where all the supplement manufacturers go. And I serendipitously met him and was like, okay, I'm going to move all production over to you. And yeah, I mean, I never had any investors. I never had any co-owners. I have one of my girls has been working with me for a very long time, almost since the beginning. And she also really helped in those stages with like the co-packing and manufacturing. But it was really just always kind of like my stubborn vision of like, I need to find a way to put these out there. Yeah.
It's incredible to hear. I didn't know about the early stages and I was so curious. I couldn't wait to hear the story. Wow. Yeah. Was there one moment where you were like, oh my gosh, this is like really growing at a rate that I didn't expect? Or did you, I'm sure you always expected this level of success because you believe so much in the vision, but was there a time period where all of a sudden you saw like more people wake up to this and become interested?
I think it just like kind of happened in waves. I feel like when I first was just like making the herbal formulas myself at home and like printing out my own labels and stuff, I would see how fast I would sell out of like the few batches that I made. And I would be like, okay, there really is huge demand for this. This is kind of crazy. So I had an idea then. And then when we started getting them professionally manufactured, we would also sell out of batches like crazy during our sales, and when we started really more functioning as a business and running like a Black Friday sale or whatever. And I would see how people would actually get pissed when we would sell out of things. I was like, holy crap, like we're a real company. And I couldn't believe it. And I guess also when I started receiving a lot of reviews for my products and seeing how they were changing people's lives, like that for me will always be the highlight and still will always be the highlight every time I get a new review, even though I have like 30 plus formulas now. I check it almost every day. Wow. And that's the greatest reward ever, to know that something actually helped someone. So yeah, I kind of watched the industry evolve and all these new supplement companies pop up, and now like everyone has a supplement company.
Literally.
But I was definitely bootstrapping it in the beginning.
Unbelievable. It's so cool. Did you feel like you needed extra knowledge of running a business, or did this come very much from like your intuition?
Oh man, such a tough question. I think having knowledge of running a business would have been super helpful. I'm someone who asks questions and uses my resources. I think that that's the number one tip for success. A lot of people are lucky to even have resources in the first place. And I never had a single family member who owned a business. I guess my dad, like he was a horse trainer, so he sort of like managed his own. He had like one or two horse owners, and he was an independent contractor, so that's kind of a business, but he barely made any money. He was like just making ends meet. My parents were in a lot of debt, so I didn't have any like examples. I didn't have any family money. So what I did do was I utilized my college resources. Our like job hunting office, or I don't even know what it was called, like the office where you go to look for internships and resumes. I asked them for a lot of advice. I got internships through them and started working as an intern for like other companies in the health space, actually, when I was first building my company, to learn about how they were doing things.
Yeah.
I worked for this company called Oatworks, and I used to do demos in Whole Foods of this like oat smoothie. And I helped them design their website, and I took on a lot of things for them and got to see the back end of like what it took to kind of build an e-commerce business. And I also like asked my accountant as many questions as I could. Whoever I knew that was like kind of businessy and kind of knew what they were doing with any sort of finance, I would ask questions. I had this one friend in my college who was successful and did have family money and like was starting a business and had all these connections. And I would call him all the time asking him for advice, even when it came to like, how much do I pay an employee? Like, should I put a contract in place for this? I really had no idea, but anybody around me who I knew had an idea, I would just ask. And so I think it's like, that's the biggest thing, is actually using your resources, not being afraid to ask questions, even if they sound stupid. And I just made a lot of mistakes. I like almost sold my company almost like accidentally to this guy who was kind of promising me that he could take over manufacturing and, you know, like take away all my pain points, but he wanted like 51% of my company and didn't even spell my name right in the contract, and was like,
oh my gosh,
he was a snake. He was like a shark who was trying to like snap up supplement companies. And this was early on. I just made a lot of mistakes. I like had to learn the hard way. I had to have like a lot of conversations with my employees as things evolved of like, hey, what is your job title now? How much do you want to be paid now? Like, I didn't know how to pay people. Now I consult with people. So I work with this one woman whose family has like a huge shipping company. They've had it in the family for years and years, and they have like 500 plus employees, and she does a lot of the compensation packages for the employees in their company. And so I consult with her for like 3 months out of the year at the end of the year, and it costs a good amount of money, but it's worth it because she goes through with me every single employee's job description, how their roles have changed. She interviews everyone in my team to ask them, hey, what did you take on this year? You know, like, how did your responsibilities change? Would you say that your job description reflects what you're currently doing? And she helps me to like be very smart and business savvy and ethical in the way that I take care of my team and employees, and make sure that I'm constantly updating their compensation, their benefits, their bonuses, and their job descriptions. So that's like that's been the biggest pain point for me, not knowing how to run a business, is not knowing how to like take care of a team properly. And so I've always tried to ask for help with that, since I know that that's something I have no experience in.
Wow. That's incredible that you do that, and how incredible it is for you, but also for your employees, and that communication you have between your team through her.
Because it's hard for me to do it directly, because it's like, it is such a close-knit team, and we are all so tight, and like I'm friends with people that I work with. So it's actually weird to have those conversations. And I think can feel weird for like even those employees to come to me and like ask for more money outright. Like that can be a weird conversation to have with like a friend / business associate. So having, someone who's like a middleman who they can feel really comfortable with, who's a professional, who does this for a living, who creates the structure of these performance interviews with them, and they have the space to ask for like whatever they want, and we can negotiate through her, is actually amazing. I think especially as like a female entrepreneur, where those conversations can feel even more intimidating. Maybe for a man it's like easy, but it's not easy for me. That's like the most difficult part of the job.
I'd have to agree. Yeah, I would absolutely agree.
It's hard.
How big is your team at this point?
I think we're like 8 or 9 in-house, but we have a lot of contractors. We have like, we probably work with like 15 to 20 maybe like 15 contractors. Everyone from like a financial guy that like audits our finances, you know, twice a year and says, hey, you're spending too much money here. You need to like make sure that you're not spending too much money on marketing here. All the way to like someone who helps us create graphics for our ads, or someone who helps us like buy Facebook ads. Like, I don't know how to do that. So my marketing girl has a contractor that she works with. And so all of my in-house employees also have like their individual contractors that they can hire and work with to make their jobs easier. And we just kind of keep track of it in an organization structure, which is also new to me. I had to kind of learn what that was and keep an eye on that. And you have to make decisions as a business owner, like, is this position better to hire a contractor for, or is it better to have someone in-house to do that? All of that is wild. Writing job descriptions is wild. Like, it's actually insane. And so much of my time goes to that.
Yes.
As an entrepreneur, as someone who's responsible for this now company, Organic Olivia. It was once a blog. It was once like a happy-go-lucky, I'm just gonna like post on Instagram and write all this content and like be a freedom fighter for herbalism. But now it's like a whole business.
Yeah.
And I don't have as much time to like show up on social media and make content, and also trying to do the podcast. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, you're wearing a lot of hats for sure.
Yeah.
How often are you meeting with your team? Is it daily?
Yeah, usually it's like almost daily, whether it's like a marketing meeting on a Wednesday or like a social media content meeting on a Monday, or like usually each day I have at least one meeting on my calendar. I try to kind of block them into days, but it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
And then also like one-on-ones or like check-ins or touch bases. Like, I'm just always kind of staying in constant communication when possible. So yeah, a lot of my week goes to that. And also a lot of it just goes to like thinking about the company, thinking about, what are we going to talk about on social next month? Like, what topics are pertinent to what people are experiencing right now? Let's write about this herb. Let's talk about the transition into this season and how people can support themselves. So it's like having your brain on content, having your brain on product development and formulating, having your brain on the finances, the team, the podcast. Like, it's a whole beast.
Yeah. And you're a fellow projector. So how does that look for you? Like, when you started to get into human design and astrology and understanding more of your archetypes and just how you work individually, but also professionally, how have things changed for you? How has your workday shifted for you? As projectors, it is said that we work best like 3 to 4 hours a day, and the rest is like room to take care of ourselves and recharge ourselves in the ways that kind of fill us up. Do you feel like that's true to you?
For sure. Like, when I do sit there and just bang out work, I'm so efficient. And I'm like, also like with my Virgo rising, I'm just like, this is wrong. I don't like this. I love this. Let's do more of this. Yes, this is approved. Like, I can just really go through things really quickly. And especially when I'm writing, like, let's say I'm like writing a content series for my team or some blogs, I can go through those pretty quickly and write a lot of content that my team can then recycle into all different pieces and whatnot. So I do feel like I end up getting a lot done in the hours that I block off to work. And since knowing that I am a projector and just always being able to feel that and how much like my body hates when I try to overwork it or when I try to work as many hours of a sprint as someone else, I just kind of gave myself more grace of like, today I'm going to be really good at probably like this one area that I'm being called towards, and I'll get a lot done there. And if I can't get anything done in the other like 6 areas that need me, I'll pick up on the next one tomorrow. Yeah. And I won't feel bad about it because, I mean, I always use that TikTok phrase, we work in marketing, not the ER. Like, it's not that serious. Like, it's, people could wait one day for a deadline or whatever. Like, I just try to not take things too seriously and get things done when I really have the energy and the inspiration and the focus to get them done. Because if I'm not really into something, it's not going to come out good either. So I just learned to trust myself in that sense. And I also learned to just stop trying to show up on social media every day. Yeah. That's not how I run. That's how I ran in the beginning, like when my energy was there, when that's what I was supposed to be doing. Yeah, 2013 to 2018, I probably posted on Instagram every single day. But now I've learned that like when I have something of value to share, it's going to reach the right people and people are going to appreciate it. Yeah. And when I don't have something of value to share and I'm forcing it, people are going to feel that, and it's actually going to like cheapen the relationship and the trust that people have, because they'll feel that I'm showing up just to show up, just to meet an algorithmic quota. And that's not cool. So I think I've learned to trust people and that they'll appreciate me being a human. And I've also learned to trust myself, and that when I am supposed to do something or share something, I'll do it. And then the rest of the time I can focus on the other areas that are calling me.
I feel that so much. As a projector, it's interesting, and I observe this even more so now that I am building my team, where I need to go with whatever it is I'm feeling inspired to that day. And if I'm not feeling inspired by something, I can't do it because it's going to be out of alignment. It's gonna be out of the energy. And like, you start to observe it more when like other people are watching you and they're like, wait, but our meeting was supposed to be about this. And you're like, well, not anymore, because today we need to move on this, because I'm getting a really clear download and I'm getting really clear insight and I need to take action here. And that is going to pop back up when it's meant to, when I'm back in alignment with that. So I feel that and relate to that so deeply. And you just connected for me how that connects directly to social media as well. Because I feel like a lot of the times I constantly want to share and I want to put out good energy each day and I want to share something that feels in alignment, but having the pressure to post is then kind of going against all of that. And when we feel so deeply in alignment, that's when we're going to feel it the most and other people are going to be impacted by it the most.
100%. And you're just going to have like phases, not only in your week or your month when it comes to like posting and putting out content, but phases in your life when it comes to putting out content. There's going to be a phase when you're like building your business and you're kind of, I mean, you started a while back, but I feel like you're still in this building phase where it feels really natural to be putting out a lot of content. Like that's actually where your energy is supposed to be going, because you're so in that current identity of building your company, being a teacher. You are very clear on the message that you're supposed to be sharing and what you're supposed to be sharing, because you're in that like that climb right now.
Yeah.
But then I also feel like that's going to change. We were just talking about this earlier. When you're on the internet for long enough, and when you've been, doing one project, one business for long enough, you are going to change as a person and your identity is going to start changing. And so your sense of clarity in your identity and in what you're supposed to be sharing isn't going to be all that strong because you are changing. And so if you try to keep putting out that same output of content or keep showing up in the way that you once did, or in this like in between way that you're not sure of, it's going to come out weird and going to kind of like affect things. So sometimes it's actually better to not post and not say anything and like let yourself go through the transformation and come out the other side than to speak or post when you're confused.
Yes.
When you're changing, it's like putting things out into the internet, into the world is like a serious thing. They stay there forever. It's your digital footprint. So I don't think people should be like making content for the sake of making it or saying things if they're not totally 100% clear and sure on their mission and like what they're supposed to be doing at the moment.
True. So,
but you're in that, and like you should be posting when it feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like recently, just from an observer, you went through some changes with your diet, with things you're consuming.
Yeah.
And also like I see this huge spiritual evolution for you. And I want to touch on both of those things. I would love to know what came first. Like, was it the intuition and the spiritual journey that guided you to realize like I need changes and I need to support my physical body in a different way? Or was it more the physical that led to this more deeper spiritual understanding of yourself?
I think they both happened at the same time, and they were both reflections of me like kind of hiding for so long, or like still in the process of like deep spiritual healing. So I feel like for a long time, even as I was building my business, I relied on a lot of like vices and coping mechanisms that were external to me to help me cope with a lot of the emotional trauma that I experienced growing up. And I think I'm a testament to showing how you can experience a lot of emotional trauma and be emotionally unwell and still live a really successful life and do really great things. Because I built my business the whole time that I've done this, I was constantly struggling with like trauma and negative beliefs about myself and vices and maladaptive coping mechanisms, whether that was overeating, whether that was smoking cannabis every day for literally 10 years, whatever it was. I've had a lot of different vices. Like I wouldn't say I've struggled with like addiction, but even though I guess cannabis is an addiction and it's being more recognized as such, and so is like food addiction, but I just always was like seeking externally for something to like fill the emptiness and the pain that I experienced in my life. And again, even though that was the case, I went on to live a lot of success, and I didn't have to be #healed first before I did it. So I always want to share that. But I think that like as time went on and as I started to prove to myself that I actually can make a difference in the world, even while I'm still going through my own struggles, and I actually can make something out of myself and help people, and I do have worth, my coping mechanisms started to feel outdated. I started to meet myself more, love myself more. And I really went on this spiritual journey in like 2021 and 2022 of starting to shed a lot of those vices. So again, like I shared, I used to use cannabis every single day since I was like 20. It kind of like aligned with me starting my business, actually, interestingly enough. But I like used cannabis every single day, and it had a hold on me to the point where like when I would travel and go out of the country, I would go through like a severe withdrawal. Like I was a very
Physical withdrawal?
physical insomnia, like sleep withdrawal,
Wow.
mental, like a lot of agitation. Like there's very real like withdrawal symptoms from cannabis. But it was just like my coping mechanism of choice. Like I had such a lack of internal tools and like internal emotional regulation that I at that time like needed it, quote unquote. Like it served me. Like as I was leaving cannabis behind, did I even have tools, or what tools did I have to kind of replace that and help myself cope since I was going through so much? And I think that it was like this perfect storm of being in the health world for so many years and being in therapy for so many years, and kind of like those tools that I picked up along the way finally starting to set in and kick in. Because I think there's this maybe misconception that as soon as you learn something, as soon as you learn meditation or this or that it's like instantly going to transform your life, or it's instantly going to stick, or you're just totally going to get into the flow and it's going to help heal everything. And it does over time. You got to work the work. But sometimes you're not fully ready to lean on that alone. Sometimes like you still have so much trauma to work through that your body's not really ready to give up the neural pathways of like the things that you leaned on for so long that like you used to feel safe. And sometimes like you need to start to learn to trust those other modalities and do them for long enough that you start to say, okay, I can take the leap and just rely on those exclusively. And so I was really lucky in the sense that like I had been on a physical health journey with herbalism for so long, and I like had that down. Like I really had my physical health down for the most part. But I think once you do get to a place of safety with your physical health, that's when you start to get into the emotional and the spiritual and the deeper layers. So it was just, this perfect storm of like having learned those tools along the way, dabbling in them, knowing that I felt good when I tried them. And I wanted cannabis less, or I wanted to eat less when I took the time to connect with myself or talk to my inner child or do a visualization or take time to journal and cry. But I just didn't I wasn't sick and tired enough just yet to like fully leave cannabis behind. But there was just a time in my life, maybe it was maturity, maybe it was self-awareness, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the grief of my mom just like hitting me all at once, but I finally just like didn't want to be numb anymore. And I felt safe enough to try raw dogging all of those emotions and like bringing in those tools that I learned along the way. So I used tools like walking. I had been walking for like a good amount by that time before I started strength training. I like did daily walks, and that would be my meditative time.
During that time?
I would listen to podcasts. I would do some meditations, like little baby ones. I would cry. I would do like a lot of self-massage. I would get massage therapy. Massage has helped me a lot because I think I like carry things deep in my tissues. So I would do massage therapy as much as I could. I would stretch a lot. Stretching also really helped me.
Oh my gosh. It's unbelievable. I think it's one of the most underrated things.
We just don't stretch.
Like when I do yoga and the teacher has me stretch something I've never stretched before, like I literally feel something that's beyond the physical body releasing and leaving. It's wild.
Yep. I would go to therapy. Like I just started to like kind of use the tools even that I learned on social media. I would do people's breathwork lives. I would like do different journal prompts that I'd find on YouTube or whatever. Like I just kind of used whatever tools I could, even things that my therapist would give me, and just carved out that time for myself for me to feel my emotions. And that was really uncomfortable at first. So I just kind of had a year of being super uncomfortable, and it really paid off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. Like sometimes it isn't as linear, and there's not this one thing that caused the other or this one support, but based off of all the things we're doing, we can create this frequency shift within ourselves and all of a sudden be like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm done with this and I'm ready for this.
And there's just a time for it. It's like also just a function of growing up.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you're just not ready to like fully meet yourself and deal with all of like your emotional junk until you're a bit older. Like a lot of our 20s are spent kind of like playing out those cycles of our childhood and our trauma and all of that, and like learning, hey, I don't like this. I don't want to be like this. I see how it's affecting me in my relationships. We need to see that first in our adulthood. And then I think your late 20s and into your 30s, you start to actually have the strength and the tools and the independence and the freedom to start letting go of those things and creating a new pattern and a new person. And I even think like my business getting bigger and my presence on social media getting bigger helped to accelerate this spiritual awakening, because I was kind of like, I'm moving so fast. Like, what am I doing? Who am I? What am I like not feeling? Am I just going to keep going at this crazy pace of like taking all this action and growing and having this huge business and like not actually be connected to myself and not deal with all my shit? Like, do I even want to keep doing this business? Like, do I want to be on social media forever and be an influence and put my life out there? Like, I just had all of these questions come up, like this kind of like radical sense of self-awareness of like, is this even making me happy? Is sharing my life on social media for my highest good and the highest good of others? Like, is it actually just me being a narcissist? Like, I just had all these questions. Seriously, like, you have to be a little bit of not a narcissist, but you have to lean into your spectrum of narcissistic traits that we all have as a human to think that your life is like interesting enough to like film and broadcast like it's a documentary. I can admit that about myself. Like, and that serves you quite well. And it's like balls that some of us have to do that. And it's great. But it's also like, is that what I want for my future? And is that still serving me? And is that still in alignment? Or do I maybe want like a more quiet life? Do I want to keep things more sacred? Like, it was just this big existential question of, who am I? Can I stop hiding from myself? Can I face all of like the grief and emotion that's within me? Am I finally strong enough to do that? And thank God, I had like years of learning the tools, even if I didn't put them all into practice fully before.
I think that's such an important message for so many, because we all want that quick fix so much of the time. And there's time that we're putting in work, whether it's in our business or for ourselves and personal development, and we feel like we're not there yet. Like, why aren't we there? I've done this many years of this work, or I've invested in a therapist. And then there's that one moment that all of it comes together and you have that realization and you're ready. And I think that's such an important piece of advice for so many people to know, that things take time and it's all on our timeline. And comparing it to anyone else's timeline will just confuse us and distract us.
100%. It's like you're training for a marathon.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to train for a marathon. And then one day that marathon comes and you get to put it all into action. And all those long hours and like, oh, why am I doing this? Actually, like, make something. Yeah. But yeah, sometimes you have to kind of blindly just put in the work for years of like, okay, I'm called to like go to this meditation class, or I'm called to do this. And I don't know if I'm really seeing a difference from it just yet, but I know I feel something and I know it's helping in some way. And yeah, when the time is right and when your soul makes that call of like, now it's the time to make a leap and do things differently, you'll have that toolbox to lean on.
Yeah. What are some things right now that are calling to you, that are really filling you up and having you feel most aligned?
Making art, 1,000%. It's very interesting because, like we were saying before, I've been an herbalist and a CEO and a public figure, like an influencer on Instagram for almost 10 years now. And that is the only identity I've ever known. And that is how other people know me. But people change and grow and evolve. And the things that they're into, they're suddenly not into one day, because we get to just have an evolution. And I have recently just had, as a continuum probably of this transformation and like stripping everything away and being like, who am I and what's really important? I think as I've done this and as I've used less substances and less coping mechanisms and I've gotten more to the root of me, I've found that who I really am isn't actually a person who like loves to be super public. I mean, I do, like, there's the Leo inside of me, but I also am craving like a little bit more of like a quiet and creative and meaningful life. And for me, that looks like making art. And it's also been a really powerful way for me to also continue to grieve my mom, because my mom was an artist. She went to the New York School of Fine Arts. She was an amazing like graphite and pencil artist, as well as a garment designer. She made the clothes for Annie and Cats on Broadway. Like, she did some really incredible things. And I have some of her old drawings. My dad just found one of her old diaries the other night where she was like talking about the art she was making in school. And as she has kind of started like her transition, that's kind of how I see her disease right now. It's like she's almost like starting her transition now to the other side because she's really just not there anymore. I'm starting to connect with her more through art, and it's almost like in my DNA. It's like in my blood and my lineage. And that's who I was as a child. As a child, all I did was make art and write music and sing and draw and paint. And I'm kind of having that full circle return to that truth of who I am, like that core of who we all really are, which is our inner child. And I'm getting to connect with my mom through that. So I've been just like making art and sketching and painting almost every day in between meetings as much as I can whenever the sun is out. And I think the next thing that I do in my life and my career will still involve helping people and teaching people, but maybe it will be teaching them how to heal and improve their physical, emotional, and mental health through accessing their inner child and their inner creativity and making art with me. Maybe that'll be my future. I don't know. I would love that. But it's definitely not, I don't see myself like being an influencer and like just a brand and business owner forever. I think the business needs to also like go beyond me. I think what was once like Organic Olivia was once me. And now Organic Olivia represents like the inner detective and inner herbalist within all of us that is like determined to get answers for her health and is like being called to connect with plant medicine. But it's not just me anymore. It's like so much bigger than me. It's like a movement, and it's not just, I don't want to just be like the face of my brand anymore. I want to like make a difference in the world through art and like connect with people more deeply on a level that's not just like through my business.
Again, I'm going to a very specific question, and I don't know if you have an answer, but what came first, this desire for more, or art entered your life and you're like, ooh, this feels good?
Desire for more.
Yeah.
More of like a sense of deep emptiness.
Okay. So from there, from the deep emptiness,
Yeah.
that's scary to sit with for a minute.
Yeah. That's why I was going to all the substances and food.
And it's scary to sit with that. And it's scary to think, okay, I feel empty. Is there something that's going to fill this? And if there is, what is it?
Yeah.
And how were you then guided to art through that? How did it come back into your life?
First, I think you need to create the space for whatever that thing is going to be for you. And I think for most people, it's going to be art in some way, shape, or form, right? Like, I think we're all artists, and you kind of need to find what your art is. And I think that's the core of being human, is to like make art and create things and love things. But I think you have to create the space first. So like, okay, you're feeling that unhappiness, that dissatisfaction, that emptiness. You're like putting things in that emptiness that temporarily help, but then ultimately make you feel worse. And you start to get that awareness around this. Like, okay, yeah, eating that box of cookies helped in the moment, but I feel terrible the next day. Or yeah, whatever, smoking felt good when I did it, but now I'm not high anymore and I just feel sluggish and terrible and more depressed. So you start to create that space. You let go of the things that you're filling that emptiness with, and you use tools to help you sit with the discomfort, not tools to necessarily make you feel better, because that's like what you were trying to do with the substance, and that's not really the goal. The goal is to feel what you're feeling. And so you use tools that facilitate that. And then you just keep stripping away. So I think like the very last thing that I let go of, which was a recent thing, is like shopping and like consuming. Because I think when we're not creating, we want to consume, which is just very interesting.
Yeah.
And so not only did I want to consume like substances or food, but I also wanted to consume through like acquiring things and shopping and being like, oh, I'm going to like hunter and gather this like new piece of clothing. Like it's almost like this, like there was like something that I was getting out of like the hunt when I was shopping that I actually could totally get through like sitting there and being meditative and making an art piece. And that would feel so much better. But for whatever reason, I could get that dopamine hit through shopping, right? Or through eating or whatever. So the last thing I let go of recently was like over shopping. And that's also something that's like funny with me being an influencer, because right now I can't like even bear to post a link to anything, because I'm just like, that's not what's important in life. So I'm really having an existential crisis, but whatever. So you stop kind of like the consumption, you create the space, you sit with that emptiness. And then I think you go back to before I started to be conditioned to fill this space and to consume these things and to seek what I'm looking for internally, externally. What did I used to love to do? What did I do as a child that I got lost in for hours? And actually, the way that I reconnected with art first started through reading. Like, I recently was like, all right, I'm bored. Can't smoke weed. Can't, like, binge eat. What am I going to do? Like, scrolling on TikTok is doing nothing for me. It's just, like, making me feel like have a headache. And I picked up a fiction book. And my first, like, conditioning was that book's not going to teach you anything. It's not going to help you be productive. And I was like, ew, get out of there.
Wow,
like,
yeah.
That's not, no, I deserve to read a fiction book, this, like, silly, cheesy romance fiction book, just for the sake of it, taking me on a journey and activating my imagination and making me happy and, like, filling me up because this is someone's creative project that they're sharing with the world. So it was like consuming something in a totally different way. It was consuming art, essentially. So I started reading these fiction books, and I read like 6 or 7 in the span of like 2 months. And through reading those fiction books, I went back to like almost like the brain space of my inner child. Because when I was a kid, I used to read fiction all the time until I became an adult and decided that that wasn't productive or worthy, because I'm only worthy when I'm productive. And I can only read a nonfiction book about increasing your longevity. So it put me in this headspace of being a kid again, and it brought out this like childlike side of me. And I started to reconnect with that original version of myself through reading fiction. And then I started to have all these dreams that I was like birthing my inner child.
Wow.
Like I was like birthing this new version of me. I was having pregnancy dreams and birth dreams almost every night. In one of my dreams, my inner child was like 2 years old. And she ran up to me and she was like, and I was so worried because I knew I had neglected her for so long. And she was like, please, can we go to Wicked on Broadway?
You were worried in the dream?
Yeah, in the dream I was like, I know I've been neglecting her for 2 years. Because I've had this call for 2 years to kind of step away from just being a productive business owner and start to like do something more with my life, right? Like, not more with my life. Not that I haven't done a lot with my life, but like do something more soul fulfilling with my path, right? Like change things up a bit. And so in the dream, I was really worried because I knew for the last 2 years I had been neglecting her. In the dream, I had this knowing. I was like, oh my God, she's going to hate me. I've been an absent mother for 2 years. But she came up to me and she was so excited and so happy. And she was like, Mommy, can we please go see Wicked on Broadway? And when I was a little kid, a little weird artist kid, I used to love Broadway shows. And I used to love singing, right? I was like reading, singing, painting, drawing. That was me as a kid. And Wicked was my favorite Broadway show. And so I was like, of course, like you can have anything you want. I'll spend time with you. And she was like, okay, that's amazing. And like she just hugged me and she was so happy. And I was like, she forgave me instantly as soon as I just agreed to spend time with her. And I was talking to one of my intuitive coaches and she was like, yeah, your inner child, like the way that you're going to get closer to your next project and like who you're becoming as an artist or whatever that looks like is simply by spending time with your inner child. Visualize her, ask her what she wants to do today. If she wants to go to Wicked and she's telling you that in a dream, go to Wicked and see like what's stirred up inside of you after you go watch that show. You know, like take yourself on a date there. Take your inner child on a date there. If she wants to read these fiction books, spend time every day reading fiction books and like know that that's actually like a project that your soul is asking you to do. Life is not just about like work. It's also about these like soul projects that we're supposed to do. And I was kind of just filling my life with like work and then numbing. Yeah. You know, I wasn't making time for the soul projects. And so, I started reading, started going to more shows, started like just doing more creative things. And then I just went to London for my yearly little solo trip. I go for like a week by myself once a year to just reconnect with myself. And I noticed that all the things that I did the year prior, like shop and eat at fancy restaurants and be social and like go to clubs and whatever, I just didn't want to do any of it. And I just wanted to be creative. And there was a little art shop around the corner from my hotel that wasn't there last year. It just opened up. And I felt this pull to go inside. And I went inside.
Symbolic.
Yeah. Literally like couldn't stop myself. Like went inside. And I was like so drawn to like these graphite pencils and these markers. And I got this little pad. And I got all these art supplies. And I went back to my hotel. And I spent that whole week in London instead of going out and doing all the things I normally do. I spent it in my hotel room and in different cafes every single day, just drawing and painting and sketching.
Wow.
And it's because I was so uncomfortable. Like I was like in a different country and I was like, none of the things that I usually like, I'm really sad. I don't want to connect with people. I don't want to be social. I felt so uncomfortable and all I could do was find solace in art. So I created the space. I made myself empty and uncomfortable. I wasn't consuming and like numbing that. And the art came through. I was like, this is what I feel called to. And I felt so happy and I just got so lost. And I started sketching in a way I've never sketched before. Like I came home with these art pieces and my husband and my friends were like, who are you? Like, you can do this? Like, it was so wild what came through me. And ever since then, I've just been like home painting and sketching and making these pieces. And I don't think I would have done that if I didn't take the space to like go to London and get so uncomfortable there that I was like, screw it, I'm just going to.
And you were by yourself?
Yeah, just by myself.
And typically when you go, you're by yourself and you're still like social and just going out?
Yeah. That's another thing that I think has accelerated my spiritual evolution. Yeah, I started doing like yearly solo trips. And so like last year I went to London just by myself and I went there with like a plan to specifically like meet myself in the context of like the world, because all I really knew was myself in the context of my home and my routine and my friends and the people that I knew. But I was like, who am I out in the world? What other parts of myself will I discover? Like I just wanted to create a relationship with myself. And so yeah, I'll go there and I'll like, each trip looks different, obviously. Like last year's trip was like I made all of these like solo reservations at different restaurants and ended up serendipitously like meeting people at every restaurant and every concert that I went to. Like I just made plans with myself for a week. I went to like 4 different concerts, all these restaurants, and I met people everywhere and I just like opened myself up to it and I made amazing friends there. And then this year I had those plans and the universe was asking something different of me and I actually I met my artist. So I think it's so important for people to spend time by themselves in new scenarios. You don't have to go travel to another country and spend money. You could just go to a different part of your city. You could go into a nearby city. You could do like you could stay upstate in a tent. Like just get yourself out of your normal scenario for a day, 2 days a week, once a year, and see what parts of you come through. Because a lot of the times you can't actually process your emotions, internalize identity changes, meet other sides of you when you're in your daily routine and environment.
That's so true. It's the habits that are hardwired for us that we just follow.
Yeah.
We wake up and we just kind of follow what we did the day before.
Yeah, which is great. It's good to have the structure like on the daily.
Yeah.
But like sometimes you can only, like a lot of people when they travel, they get really sick or like whatever. I think it's because our bodies, when we're in a different space physically and in a totally different routine and thrown out of like our comfort zone, that's when we actually have a chance to process so much of the stuff in our body and in our emotional body.
Yeah.
So when you get like the craziest downloads and awakenings.
Yes.
Solo travel is like my number one tip for people who are trying to like grow spiritually.
I love that.
You'll learn so much about yourself.
Wow. That's so outside of my comfort zone. I typically don't like to travel. All of a sudden this year, I feel so much more open to it. But traveling is like hard for me because I'm sensitive to energy and I'll get sometimes, I don't know, just being in a different space, I'll get homesick, honestly.
Okay.
Homesick. And I was that kid who like couldn't sleep over at the friend's house or would like be like, all right, I'm going home now. Actually, this slumber party's over.
Yeah.
I was that kid my whole life. And now I finally feel as if I'm healing part of that. And feeling more comfortable as I travel. But previously, before this year, traveling was just like hard for me and would make me feel really uncomfortable. I could never commit to it. And now I finally feel like something has shifted.
How long do you think the homesickness lasts for you?
When I'm away? I think it depends where I am and how quickly I warm up to where I am and feel comfortable in where I am.
Okay.
I went to Sedona and I think it lasted literally the whole time I was there.
Okay.
When I was there a few years ago.
Okay.
And then when I was in Italy, I felt good. I was just in Turks. I felt really good. So I do feel like that's part of the old chapter. Like I'm starting to be aware that like that doesn't have to be my story, even though it was part of my past story. And now I'm like rewriting that. But remember in Italy, right when you were going through your thing with the eye, I got the bee sting. It's really interesting.
It's so gnarly.
It was wild.
I feel like bees, this is my theory, it's non-scientific, no PubMed studies to support this, ignore me. I think bees sting us in like acupuncture points where we need like immense.
Well, that's interesting.
I would love to know what acupuncture.
They're very high frequency. I do believe that they are, but it was wild, the reaction I was getting, and coming from someone who like wants a more holistic approach and doesn't want to take any medication if I don't need it. I had to call in the Italian doctor.
You needed it, girl. You needed some medication.
I called my friend who's a doctor, FaceTimed him, and he was like, it's going to turn into cellulitis if you don't take care of that. It was like already there. Gnarly. He was like, Erika, it's like already there. And I knew, my intuition told me. And then I was like, great. Now I have to get, I never like, not that I never go to doctors. I go to doctors, you know, when I'm not a runner where I'm like, oh, I have a cough, I'm running to the doctor. You know, like I usually give my body time. I do all of my interventions, and then I go when I know I need it. Yeah. I'm like, I barely like need a doctor yet. I'm calling in the Italian doctor to our hotel room. Yeah. And he wanted to inject me with cortisone. And I'm like, I'm not getting an injection right here in my hotel.
Oh my God. Did you end up taking antibiotics?
He gave me an ointment. And it helped. It really helped.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It was wild.
I'm an antibiotic fan over here. Like when I need an antibiotic, I will take that. Like give me what I need. I think I needed an antibiotic desperately.
Yeah.
My lineage would not have survived
I needed it.
without antibiotics. Like I know I would not. My lineage is not strong enough to survive whatever bacteria is on this earth. We need modern medicine, but like
we do. There's definitely a time and a place. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I also will for sure. Like if I have like a cough or a cold, like I'm gonna throw all my herbs at it first and then see what I need. Like it's a balanced approach. But back to the homesickness, I will say, if you are gonna start traveling more, and if anyone listening wants to, but like the homesickness is a thing. I don't know if like I wouldn't say that it's going to go away. And I would say that that's kind of part of the point. Yeah. So like both times when I went to London, I was miserable for like the first however long. Like especially this time, the first few days, I was like, why did I do this, Nick? Like I'm coming home. I hate everything here. Like it's just not feeling the way that it did last year. It doesn't feel aligned. I'm really sensitive to the noise, the smells. Like I was like saying, oh, I'm too energetically sensitive, which like is true. But that was just like my body just being like extra uncomfortable. Yeah. And like sometimes being so uncomfortable is where our change and our magic happens. True. And so like it was only on that third day when I was like, I don't know what to do, Nick. Like I want to come home. I want to change my flight. Like I'm going to lose all this money on the hotel room, but I just need to do it because I need to get out of here. He was like, go take a walk and like see what you find. And that's when I found the art shop. Wow. And I was like, yeah, what is my soul telling me is aligned here? Like what do I need to learn? Like what is kind of like the out here? And only through being so uncomfortable did I feel motivated enough to throw myself into art and actually like complete so many of the sketches. Because if I was home and I had my creature comforts, I would be too comfortable to sketch. So true. I wouldn't be like that bored and in pain to where like sketching would be a thing. Like it takes a lot to change a behavior to do something totally new. So and even up until the end, like up until almost the very last day, I was like, I need to change my flight. Like, it never really went away this trip. I was really uncomfortable. But then the last day, I was like, oh, I'm finally comfortable. I can stay here for another week. And he was like, don't even try it. So it's funny because sometimes it does take actually like 8 or 9 days to adjust to somewhere. And then only when you're leaving do you feel good. Or sometimes like you get to the end of the trip and it's because you know you're leaving that you feel good. Yes. But when you're in it, it's like there's like this weird... Your brain feels like everything's permanent. My brain does that. It's like whatever moment I'm in, this is going to last forever. Mm-hmm. And then as your brain starts to see it's not going to last forever, then it gets to appreciate. Like they say, adventures are never fun while you're having them. And you just have to remember that. That like, yeah, this is like sucking right now. But when I actually look back at it, I'm going to be like, ooh, I had all these new experiences and my brain lit up in different ways. And yeah, I was homesick and it sucked, but it served a purpose. So I'm just saying you probably will be very uncomfortable as you travel, but all the more reason to do it.
It's so true. You're so spot on about that. It's as you were describing that, it really reminds me of why people go on retreats. Yeah. Like you go on a retreat so you could just have space to just do whatever it is you're there to do and let things come through to you and let whatever needs to show itself come up and show itself. Yeah. It's so true. So I before we wrap up, I do want to talk a little bit about your line.
Yeah, sure.
And
me, like I'm running away and becoming an artist. But anyway, my line.
I want to talk about it because I haven't tried them and I need
to. Stop it. Did I never send you any?
I need to try them.
I'm getting a package this second.
First and foremost, if someone wants to get into herbs to support their overall health, is there something that you recommend that's just like everyday type thing? Yeah. Overall health, what would that be?
Everyday overall health adaptogens. Like I can't imagine driving in New York City traffic and like coping with modern life the way that we have to handle it without adaptogenic herbs. I feel like that's something that everyone can benefit from. There's a lot of different adaptogens out there. In my line, I have a blend called Adrenal Recovery, which is a very, very energetically and temperature balanced blend of all of these different adaptogens. And that's important because sometimes if you're just taking one single adaptogen like ashwagandha, it could be too hot or too dry for a certain person. Let's say someone runs really hot and their mucous membranes are usually really dry and they have dry eyes. Something like rhodiola or ashwagandha might not actually be the right herb for them alone. And they might need some balancing from other more moistening, cooling adaptogens like eleuthero.
Interesting.
So I always recommend an adaptogen blend that has a very well-balanced blend of a whole bunch of different ones in the right amounts so that you just kind of have like a spectrum of different plants. And what adaptogens do is they increase your resilience in the face of stress. And they do this in several different ways, which is fascinating. One of the ways in which they do this is by actually activating your heat shock proteins, which is the same proteins that are activated when you're in a sauna.
Interesting.
So adaptogens activate all of these biochemical mediators in your body that bolster your resistance to stress. They also are antioxidants. So like when you're stressed out, when you're low on sleep or you've been overworking, that's stressful. It's an oxidant to the body. It creates oxidative stress. So because adaptogens are so rich in antioxidants, it helps to protect your body against the effects of that stress. And different adaptogens also prevent your brain and like your neurons from actually being damaged in the face of increased stress and excitation. And of course, they modulate your HPA axis, which is your hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenals, and eventually your ovaries and thyroid. And the HPA-OT axis is why stress perceived on a brain level, when your hypothalamus in your brain is like, I have this work deadline, I'm so stressed out right now, that's why your period can come late. Or your metabolism can be sluggish and you're really tired because the hypothalamus talks to the ovaries and the thyroid. And when stress is happening up here in the brain, the glands and the organs are stressed as well. So adaptogens actually help to regulate that axis and make the brain, the hypothalamus, more resilient. We can handle more stress when we take adaptogens.
Wow.
So that's like my number one.
And what is that called? The adaptogen?
It's called Adrenal Recovery.
Okay, adrenal.
So it's really good for people who are like under a lot of stress. They've been stressed for a long time, overworked, new moms, people who are like in a really demanding job, people who exercise a lot, anybody who's just like stressed out and fed up. And then I have all different products just depending on what you need. I have an adaptogen blend that's specific to people who have low thyroid. It's called ThyroPro. I have my own probiotic. I have a bunch of different juice tinctures. They're like these really delicious.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you
yummy.
all of these. I'm going to send every
I'm
single one.
Excited.
I can't believe I've never sent them to you before. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Do not apologize. I'm so excited.
But my juice tinctures are more like for someone who just wants to dip their toes into herbalism and experience the power of herbs. They're kind of like, I call it this herbal first aid kit, the same way that you'd have like a Band-Aid on hand for scrapes or like whatever, Advil for a headache. You have a line of different tinctures that kind of address every pesky issue that could come up in your day-to-day life. So we have focus juice, which is for when you're like feeling really sluggish, have a meeting or a presentation. It's kind of like almost like nature's Adderall, not nearly as strong, but it's like as strong as you can get in the plant world. It helps to bring blood flow to the brain and focus. That. We have sleep juice, obviously when you're having trouble sleeping. We have peace juice, which is a spray. It's like an instant spray for anxiety. It's my favorite. It helps to activate your vagus nerve. We have mood juice, which is amazing for like seasonal depression, anyone who's going through like some lows and some blues. It's a very uplifting formula. And a lot of people like it as like a mocktail before going out when they're living a sober lifestyle, because it's actually mood boosting and uplifting instantly. Like it doesn't take time to kick in. It's really good. And then we also have digestive juice, which is a spray that you just spray on your tongue before or after meals, and it helps immensely with digestion. It's all digestive bitters that activate your digestive enzymes and your stomach acid. So these are like different things that you can just keep in your bag, and you're like, oh, I'm really feeling like upset today, or like my mood is low. You pull out the mood juice. Okay, I'm really anxious on the train. You pull out the peace juice. Like
that is amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's incredible. Do you have anything for like women's health? For cycles or I'm forgetting the name.
Oh, like prenatal.
Prenatal,
Yes.
postnatal.
Yeah, I have 2 formulas. So one is called Flow Balance. So if a woman is planning to conceive, but she has really irregular cycles, or she has really bad PMS or estrogen dominance or whatever it is, and you actually need support regulating your cycle before you conceive, you take Flow Balance first. And that's something that actually helps to regulate your estrogen and progesterone and get your cycle back on a normal length. So you'd take that for anywhere from 3 to 6 months until your cycle is like really strong and healthy. And then I have something called Natal Nourish, and that's our prenatal herbal formula. So you'd switch from Flow Balance to prenatal when you're ready to start prepping your body for conception. And you can take that all throughout pregnancy. It has really nourishing, mineral-rich, loving, nutritive herbs. It's so beautiful for the body pre-pregnancy. And then if you don't have a hormone imbalance and you just want to prep your body, you can just take Natal Nourish without the Flow Balance.
Got it.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I want to try all of them.
I got you, girl. I'm going to send you the care package of the century.
Oh my gosh, I'm so
We
excited.
can also give your audience a code. You were very kind. Yeah.
What would
We'll
you
make
like
a
to share?
code
That's so
Erika.
nice.
Yeah, we'll do
Awesome.
Erika for 10% off. Yeah.
Amazing.
Everything in the line.
Oh my gosh, we're all going to be happy, peaced out so much, right? Oh my, I'm
You
really
let me know what
excited
you
about
want.
all
I'll
the
send you some
juices. I can't thank you enough. I'm so grateful to you, all that you share. I can't wait to see what comes in this journey for you.
Thank you so much. For
And
asking such
it's just
thoughtful-
amazing to observe all the success you've already had at 30 years old and like so much that lies ahead for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for asking such thoughtful questions. I feel like I really took people on an intense journey. I'm like, so I was addicted to cannabis and now I'm an artist. But that's just where I'm at for real right now. If you interviewed me 5 years ago, I'd be like, check my Instagram stories, but that's not where I'm at.
No, we're just evolving at a very, very, very rapid pace right now. And for those of us, which so many of us listening are, I know that we are on this journey of like destiny, higher self, being in alignment with our truth. We're constantly changing. And we're keeping it hot and interesting over here.
We sure are. Man, I really put a little too much out there, but it's fine.
I think the other thing is, though, the non-attachment.
Yeah.
People can listen to this and be like, oh, wow, okay, she's going to be an artist. And like, the truth is, we are changing so quickly and we can't really be attached to anything.
No.
Because you could leave here tomorrow, you could have this epiphany and have this whole new download. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I feel like my life is going right now. Like every day, it's this like life-changing thought I'm getting about how I want to be in my future. And then I constantly detach from it because in this moment, I think this is the path, but the universe is going to show me what the path is. And I surrender to the divine plan.
Wow,
So
I love that. I'm going to practice that.
Yeah. Just constant surrender,
That
constant detaching. Did you ever read the 7 spiritual laws for success?
No.
It's a good one.
Okay.
It talks a lot about detachment. And when you're just starting to practice detachment, it sounds very contradictory because it's like, but if I believe in manifestation, why am I going to act like I don't want something? But it's this beautiful dance between knowing what you want, putting it out there, and then not being attached to it at all, to it at all, and being completely surrendered in the process.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to pick up that book. I'm getting your app. I'm doing all the things. You're really just transforming my life right now.
We're really excited for you to start your morning meditation. I can't wait.
So excited.
Can't wait. But thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on. You're the best.
I hope you guys enjoyed that episode as much as I did. Olivia is such a light. She is a wealth of knowledge and she is so embodied. And you can just see that she is on this soul journey of exploring. She's listening to her intuition and she is so in alignment with the messages she receives and where she wants to go. And I'm personally so excited to see what this next chapter has in store for her and all that Organic Olivia will continue to bring to the world. So I'm actually like drooling, ready to try all her juices. I cannot wait. I'm thrilled and so excited. And if you guys are interested in trying her products too, she's offering you guys 10% off with the code Erika. So be sure to check those out. And again, don't forget, we recorded an episode together where she interviewed me on her podcast. So be sure to check that out as well. Thank you guys for always being here, always showing up, always sharing your feedback. And I will see you next time. May the longtime sun shine upon you. Sat Nam.